Yeah, there's this saying, a man without a smile should not open a shop. So, you know what I mean? So if you don't have a personality if you don't have a pleasing personality and you don't want to hear someone's story, then it might not
Mm.
be the best business to be in as far as home service or home improvement, because you got to be willing to listen to people's stories. And if that was a piece of advice, I'd say absolutely would be just be a good listener.
Welcome to another episode of the Home Hero Podcast. Today we are joined by Jay with Jay's Door and Trim. He is a door repair, installation replacement specialist that started as a handyman. Of course, that's how we met. We've known each other for coming up on 5 years. So this episode is all about learning from Jay, his story, his experience, his niche focus. We're super excited to have this conversation. Jay, thank you so much for joining us, man. If you don't mind, just kicking us off with, your business name, where you're located, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, absolutely. So, my name is Jason, but I go by Jay. Go figure. And then Jason Bergfeld. My business is Jay's Doors and Trim out of Castle Rock, Washington. And yeah, like Jason said, I started out as handyman. My business was Jay's Handyman Service. Did that for 4 years straight, and then immediately decided, well, I'm going to try a niche thing, a specialization, and switched over to Jay's Doors and Trim. So therefore, I've been self-employed for 8 years. Recently, about 6 months ago, my wife quit her full-time job at the paper mill slash lumber mill here in town to go full-time with me. And she's all things office management, CSR, CFO. She wears a lot of hats, and that's been
Yeah.
really our most recent adventure.
Awesome. Awesome. So if you could kind of take us back, man, like how did you start what was the original starting story of like your handyman business? And then would love to hear like how you landed on doors as your niche focus about 4 years ago now. And I also want to point out to our listeners that Jay is located in Castle Rock, Washington, and it's a rather rural part of Washington. And he has 100% niche focus. I love your story and what you've done, Jay, because like people think that, oh, I'm in a small town. I got to do everything. And so anyway, not to go too far off the beaten path here, but if you could kind of take us back 8, 9 years ago, like how did you originally start as a handyman business and then, kind of narrow into doors?
Yeah, like you said, about 8, 9 years ago. So if we went to 9 years ago, I was a foreman. I was in the carpenters union, and so I was a union carpenter foreman for a pretty large company in our area at a paper mill. And that was going really good. It got slow. And as a carpenter by trade for lifetime carpentry, it can get slow. So side work, doing side work, and to keep things floating financially. And I was like, you know what? I like working for homeowners a lot. And then I was like, well, I've always wanted to do a business. I love commercial work in my career that I've had in the union, but something was calling me to go work for homeowners like indefinitely. Um, so I was doing a lot of side work on that last run, and went back to work for a little bit, and I was just like, I gotta go for it. And then so I told my boss, I was like, hey, I'm gonna start a business. And he's like, okay. you know and but I went for it, and hit the ground running with plenty of work, um as handyman. But otherwise, I had a 15-year career in the carpenters union, and born and raised carpenter though. So
Hmm.
born and raised carpenter with my dad as a cabinet maker. Went to Job Corps for the pre-union apprenticeship for carpentry. Got out of there at 19 and joined the union.
Hmm.
Um, so just a main thing about me is that I'm a carpenter at heart, and that's like in my blood what I want to do and what I'm doing.
Awesome. That makes sense about the door transition, man. You just like probably doing all this handyman stuff, and you're like, I got to get back to just that more like where your heart's at. I'm sure, like I know you have interviewed a lot of people over the years, and that kind of jumping point from leaving your job and going full time as a business owner. I don't think I've talked with anyone that was so passionate about their career, but it must have been nice to kind of almost augment your career to kind of forge your own path rather than, it like scratch that carpenter itch through your job.
Yeah, keep in mind, like with this, my story is I started out as a handyman, self-employed. I started my self-employed career as a handyman, Jay's Handyman Service. But you know what? That whole time I specialized in carpentry. You know what I mean? So like within
Mm.
handyman, you can pick what you want to do, and you can still niche. Um, so I focused on carpentry at first. I got plumbing calls and electrical. I'm in Washington. You can't even look at an outlet unless you're a licensed electrician and stuff, or you can't change a faucet, and that's okay. So I'm just like, people are gonna expect me to do that, and I did. It was like, word does spread like wildfire, especially in a smaller town. We're not too small, but word does spread. And oddly enough, it took a couple years, but at first I was getting so many phone calls for plumbing and electrical. I'm like, I can't. And then I said no so much that eventually I quit getting those phone calls. People, oh, Jay doesn't do
Mm.
plumbing, electrical. So I was able to stay carpentry based as a handyman. And oddly enough, my dad was like, "You're not gonna why handyman?" My dad was like, "Handyman, you're not gonna do any of the finished carpentry or high end carpentry jobs for people because handyman." And he didn't get it, and I was like, "It's gonna work. It's gonna open up a lot of doors." Hey, punt intended, right? So
I definitely did, man.
and he high end finished carpenter. He worked on projects for Street of Dreams, which is, if I won't go into that, but it's a huge, big deal for high end finish work. But it's like he was doubtful, pretty doubtful, and that's its own topic too. Is you got to have people around you that believe in what you're doing, and I was counting on my dad to be that person, and he wasn't.
Mm.
Dad very much,
Mm.
and like, but it's almost like I didn't go out to prove him wrong. It just happened. It's like, oh well, Dad, look, this is crazy. So I built an entire kitchen, cabinets. Um, I was doing high end finish work, like pretty remarkable that I was getting such quality leads to do advanced high end finish carpentry work the whole time. So that was really cool, and it worked out. And then, but the consistency was hard on me. Yeah, like you said, wanting to just be carpentry on the leads, consistency,
Mm.
and it can be. It's not easy to do handyman. So my hat's off to any of them that are doing it. And you have to have a lot of energy. You have to
Mm.
have that energy to be doing all things contracting, handyman, building. One day you're building a deck, next day you're doing concrete, the next day you're doing drywall. Those are a whole series of tools, thousands and thousands of dollars of tools, and you can't have one truck that fits all of those tools. So
Mm.
every single day you got to reorganize and stuff.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed that. I enjoyed working after work, organizing the truck. It's like a kid with Legos or toys, like, playing in the dirt with trucks and stuff. Uh, it's the same thing with tools.
Yeah.
And
I could see that visual for you as Jay the handyman, just like a kid in the backyard in the sand pit.
yeah, only it's the pickup truck back and then tools and keeping them organized. But you're after 4 years. it's not that my energy wasn't there, but another calling was calling me, like to do something little bit different. And then the consistency, because I had a daughter when I started my business, so newborn baby and a newborn business, and it's like to be able to spend family time. I was
Mm,
like, I got to figure out some consistency so I'm not spending 2 hours every evening organizing tools for the next day's work.
mm-hmm.
And then, but to quickly just jump right to it, that's exactly what happened when I specialized in one thing, in a few things, is the van I have now. All those tools are in there. I get home from work, I could park and go in the house. I'm done. And I don't have to think, or in the morning, I don't have to think, oh, do I got my Sawzall with me? Or do I got that rotor hammer with me? You know, troweling tools for concrete. Like, I don't have to think. I just jump in the van and I go. I got to
Mm,
keep it organized, clean,
sure.
but so that was pretty cool. But
So let's point to that transition 4 years ago, when you switched from Jay's handyman service to Jay's door and trim. Like what sparked that? Just going for it, ripping the band-aid off, and the full rebrand and being way more strict on what you're doing, what you're not doing. Like take us back to that time. Like what did that transition look like?
um, it hit me like a ton of bricks. It hit it like seriously, like just my chest beating. Like, what
Mm,
if all I did was doors? And I thought about it for a moment, and I was like, huh. And I thought about it on the rest of the way home. By the next day, I was like, wow. I was just blown away with the idea. And I just, my gut, you got to go with your gut and your intuition. And I had a career, like I say career, I did 2 years of nothing but doors and trim in the union. So commercial doors, hospitals, schools, churches, high-rise buildings, miles and miles of trim. I did a lot of high-end finish work, wall paneling. Um, and commercial doors are way different than residential doors. That's its own topic too. You got to pick
See
one or
Kobe nodding his head there.
yeah.
Way
Okay,
different.
yeah,
Way different.
yep. And I have the skills, experience to do any and all of those panic bars, flush rods, magnetic fire code, um, the closers, different kinds of closers. I have all that knowledge. So within business, you hear like it's sometimes better to just specialize with one or the other. Don't do commercial and residential. Pick one and run with it. There's a little area there's a little wiggle room in my opinion, but for the most part, just I chose to pick one and run with it. Residential, and a lot of it too is residential. Like you got oak grain textured, fir grain textured, smooth, mahogany grain textured, a bronze threshold, a mill finish threshold, adjustable, fixed, ADA threshold, different jam widths, like and like I'm just spouting off quickly. Like so much product for doors that to increase sales on any given handyman doing doors would be knowing all that stuff.
Mhm.
As a handyman, I did get a lot of leads for door replacements and stuff. And as a career carpenter, it seems pretty straightforward and easy to do a door. But what's not easy is measuring a door and getting all the bells and whistles correct. So
Mm.
I knew that if I specialized in doors, what if I got really good at the sales of doors and going through the different options? Because that's what I noticed people most wanted is that they either have experience trying to order their own door or they look into it a little bit and then there's the options can be daunting. So they'd rather have someone come to their house and present all that stuff. And that if you don't know, then it's you're losing the trust from the customer. And I got really interested in all that stuff, the different options with doors. So above just the install, the sales department of the industry, It's in demand, in-home sales of doors and trim, and
Yeah, because there's like big doors and windows is a huge niche. Like obviously, there's nationwide door and window franchises and companies that are advertising across the market because it's a pretty scalable service. But they obviously have their sales process dialed in with showing all the products and the overwhelming amount of options that homeowners just they don't know. And so it just hits on. I love how you looked at the value there of like I can not only install the door, but I can use my expertise and part of the client experience, like educate them and have a nice sales presentation that kind of informs them and make sure that they're super confident. Because I know doors aren't the cheapest thing in the world as far
yep,
as replacing in your home, whether for function or design. So leading up to that transition, Jay, like it was kind of a gut feeling, like you're a carpenter at heart. Your dad was even like, oh, you're just a handyman, how are you going to do your carpentry stuff? So um, what was that transition like as far as like, did you let all your clients know beforehand
yeah,
and just got strict on the service you were doing, or did you rebrand? And did you have like wiggle room on doing some handyman projects at first? Because obviously, when you niche down, there's less volume of projects, right? Because it's
yep.
like, oh, I cannot entertain the ceiling fan swaps or the TV mounts. Like, we're just doing doors and trim and custom carpentry. So, what was that like from the lead flow perspective and communicating to clients? Like, what was that like in that transition? Because it must have been, some learning experiences in there.
Yeah, yeah. So that's a very important part of my story, the story. And so I kind of veered off there for a second, a little bit, but that's very important, and it's pretty cool to go back and think about and explain, tell that story. But what it was like at first was gut feeling, and then brainstorming, planning, developing a little bit, but mostly just going for it and then going all in to the point of like, I don't know if it's going to work out, but we'll find out. You know what I mean? So sometimes you just got to just go for it. And to the point, I knew that the best way to make it work, because at first, like the first several weeks, I'd get a phone call for a small porch to be built, or a handyman task from a regular customer, because I had a lot of regular customers. And I was like, yeah, okay. And I was doing those to keep my schedule going and keep my income going. But then while I was building a deck or a porch, I'd get a phone call for a door replacement because I rebranded, like you said. So I rebranded, changed the Google page, the Facebook page, and everything. So I started to get a little bit of calls with doors, but I was busy, booked out like 2-3 months. And that's something to note, that if you doors for whatever, like handyman, you can get to that 2 month area and people are okay with it if you're highly recommended.
Mm-hmm.
3 months, depending on what project it is and if you're recommended, anything past 3 months, it's like, oh no. And then that's not good, because even though, people kind of can quit referring you too, because then you're so busy.
Yeah,
But
great insight. Great insight there, Jay.
yeah,
Thanks for sharing that. Totally agree, and we've seen that over the years with clients, no matter what market they're in. That's a very accurate assessment, especially owner operator. They get Jay's time, right? That's high
yeah,
value.
right, yeah. So what I noticed with doors is it's about a month. Once you start saying, hey, we're about 4 weeks out, booking rate goes down
Mm.
from that, more so than general remodels. Remodels are a little bit bigger and stuff, so they can kind of see that. But um, where am I going with this? Just people like to be around 2 weeks out. So I was doing handyman work still. I was trying to do kind of both, and then I was booked out too far. And I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna say no to any handyman work, to the point of needing work badly, no money, worried if we're gonna make it, and getting a phone call from a really good customer. Jay, I want, can you build this porch? No. What do you mean? And I tell them, hey, I'm specializing in doors and trim. They're like, well, maybe you can just do this one task and then And I was like, yeah, I was like, and it was one of the hardest things to ever go through. It was
Mm,
no, get off the phone. And I remember our power bill was like, we got the notice where like, hey, we're doing the shut off thing coming up here real soon. Literally no money in the account, like 62
mm.
cents. Power bill is about to get off. And I had a really good customer, and I got off the phone denying income. I'm like, wow, what am I doing? But I had faith. I was like, I don't know, it's gonna work out. Next day, phone call, hey, I need a door replacement. Went and did the job, and then I just getting so to transition from handyman or general contracting to a specialized service. The transition, you've already built up customers and clientele. So to transition is I think, and I knew in my best and known opinion was to just go all in, to get really good at saying no to everything and just go in. Don't 1 foot over here and 1 foot over there, because I knew that the free time I had by saying no to a porch or other work or cabinets, the free time I would gain from that I would put that energy into the door business. Otherwise, I was just always going to be busy, not working on the business, working on the door design business, and so getting good at saying no
Yeah.
is a
And that
very
can, like, I definitely can relate whenever I left my job. I mean, my career, my income, like, I had nothing coming in, but I knew that I just needed that focus. And it was kind of that gut thing, right? I probably
yep.
could have done more preparation. I'm
When
grateful, man. Oh, go ahead, Kobe.
I'm cutting you off, Jason.
No, it's
When
good. Yeah.
when when you decided to make that jump into niche down and specialize, was it more a factor of this is the type of work that I want to do that I enjoy more? Was it more a factor of I think there's a good business opportunity here. There's more room for profit or better systems in place. So was it more like a personal thing of this is what I want to do on a daily basis, or is it a like a business decision in that I think this is a better vehicle to build a business around?
I'd answer that with all of the above, and if I had, in the way you put it, mostly a business decision, all about business and consistency. So no, it is personal. I do it then. I loved doing doors, and I was like, I wish I did more doors. I really like it, and I like doing the doors and the union commercial doors. So it was definitely a personal decision. Like I would really enjoy that, but mostly when with everything you just said was exactly the way I seen it. Consistent, and to use one word would be consistency for me, the business, and the consistency in what I can deliver to the customer, and that eventually it would just be a smooth little system. Pricing, consistent pricing, um, business decision mostly to see what that would be like.
Is that is that similar to you, Kobe, whenever you transition to full on remodels, or was it just more of like, hey, I'm getting a lot of these projects and I can charge more for it? Like, was it less calculated? I'm just kind of curious if there's some overlap there.
Yeah, no, my decision to go from handyman to remodeling was way less calculated. It was like, man, these projects are sexy and the numbers bigger. Let's do more of these. Ended up being less efficient, more headaches, and a pain in the butt. But no, I was way less calculated. But that's why I asked that question.
Yeah.
Curious.
That was a good question. Yeah.
So, I, down to 62 cents, Jay. I commend your heart, man, and your perseverance. I cannot match that. I did have 2 digits of dollars in my account. Uh, Above zero, less than 100, but 62 cents. I just commend your perseverance because most entrepreneurs have those experiences multiple times in their journey of like down to not much money and you've got bills to pay. So anyway, I can't understate, man. I just appreciate that courage that you had and that in making that transition. I want to ask, like, what would you have done differently in the transition from handyman to the door specialization, and then from there we'll start diving into the more details of the business and how you're running things.
Um, I mean, that was the most important part. Like, what would I do differently? But if I was to reverse engineer that and do, what would I do exactly the same? Is I would do that exactly the same as get really good at saying no to other jobs and go all in. So don't put all your eggs in one basket is a slogan, right? But it's the other way around. Definitely put all your eggs in one basket is in my opinion when you gonna transition. So transitioning, just go for it. Applied faith is huge. Like you have to have that applied faith and truly believe it's going to work out to the full extent and have no negativity to it. Um, and what you think you create. So if you believe it's going to work, it will work. And so applied faith and just going all in, put all your eggs in one basket. But what I would do differently, um, pickup truck. I tried to make it work with a pickup truck. I kind of knew it wasn't going to. And me and my wife kind of refrained from buying a commercial vehicle, a box truck, and because it's the monthly payments and just is it gonna really expedite? Is it gonna improve our business exponentially? We can make it work with the pickup truck, and doing that too long at first because the handyman work it did work pretty good out of the pickup truck. There's some days that it can be tiring because you're reorganizing the pickup truck. In the rain, I live in Washington, so we got a lot of rain. Um, but eventually, I was like, I know it's going to work with that pickup truck or with the box truck. So at at any level of thought, they're owning a box truck, whatever business you are in, is absolutely the best decision I have ever made in business out of 8 years. Not
Box
just
trucks are awesome. Going from a
yep,
pickup truck to a box truck is
yep,
awesome. Especially you get one. We had an old U-Haul. We bought a used U-Haul. We got a good deal on. But I mean, you can stand up all the way in there. If it's raining, you
yep,
can throw your miter saw in the back. You can work out of the back of it. It's box trucks are awesome. But you brought up a good point about kind of putting it off. Like we can make this work. And when you're making those sorts of like financial decisions in the business, a lot of times it comes down to how does this purchase spending this money actually lead to making more profit, more money on the bottom line, or is this like a quality of life type of purchase? Is this going to make me more efficient, to where I'm actually going to make more money, more than what I'm paying for the vehicle, or is it worth it to me just because it's a quality of life thing, and I'm not going to dread loading at the back of the pickup truck every morning or evening, or whatever that looks like.
So
yeah.
the box truck is both. It's a big win. What are the specifics of the box truck? Because we have never talked about, we've never went in the weeds on a box truck in our
Oh, cool.
podcast interviews. So what about this was just a game changer? Because I mean, of all the things, Jay, or what you have done differently, and your mind wandered and it was like, okay, I would have done a lot the same, but you know what? I wish I got that box truck sooner. And then Coby chimed in of like, oh yeah, the
That's
box
so
truck.
cool.
So what specifically might someone consider, making this investment? Like, why was it such a big impact for you?
Um, efficiency is number one. It's so much more efficient, and that so you're gonna make more money. It's gonna pay for itself, like unbelievably well. It pay for itself.
Hmm.
There is no, if anything from this podcast, there is no better decision than to get a box truck at this time. Hey, how was podcast with Jay? Like, what was a takeaway? Box truck, and like it is huge.
It's they're huge, and we put it off for a while too. We started with pickup truck, and then another pickup truck, then a trailer, then another pickup truck, and then we finally got a box truck. And even it's so much better than even having the trailer. But how I sort of justified it and ended up being true, like, hey, how is this actually going to add money to the bottom line? We spent so much less time having the guys running back to the shop to grab tools or equipment they forgot or just didn't think they were going to need that day, because we could just
Yep.
fit everything in the box truck. It was a rolling workshop.
Yeah.
And so that's how it saved us money instead of the guys, I didn't think we were going to need the miter saw. We got to run back to the shop and grab it and drive back to the job site. When you got employees, they tend to drive a little slower, during the day.
So less
So
billable hours.
Yep. Box
Or less,
trucks are awesome.
yeah, non-billable hours.
Yeah. Well,
I
great.
got
Any other thoughts on the box truck? Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Coby.
Yeah, I was just, as far as like Jason asked what you would have done differently, if anything, I'm curious to know, do you think it would have worked out the same way, or you would have been as successful if you would have started out doing doors and trim from the beginning versus starting with handyman work and transitioning?
Kind of not. It would be like being a new guy in town. Like if you just move to a different town, that's one of the harder startups because you have less community, people that know you. It's a little harder to build the trust. So the doors, it's like, because even now I get people like just doors. It's like, wow, that's yeah, and it's neat. I think it would have been a very way harder. So that's what I had going for me. That's a good question because I knew I don't want to say hundreds, but a couple hundred, 100 people, whatever it was at that time. It made it easy for the beginning phase of marketing, and you can call past customers or send emails to past customers like, hey, I'm doing this now. I'm doing a door business now. I appreciate all your business in the past. If you know anybody that needs a door, just a little brief email. So that's a good marketing strategy. And it sparked up some work right away. I think the main thing to go all in on a specialty is it's doable. Like any business, knowing people to help you start is important. Asking friends, hey, or just letting friends know, hey, I'm starting a business. This is what I do, and then doing work for them, getting those pictures. Traditional business startup, same, I think, but yeah, less lead flow at first. So when I switched to just doors, that first year was very slow with leads. The second year got way better. About 2.5, 3 years in, I was like, this is so cool. So many, every day my phone rings with, hey, I need a door. And now 4 years in, we're getting a good amount of leads, plenty leads. I'm not sure marketing, branding. I think branding and your logo on your vehicle appearance is huge for startup, for any startup.
The reason I ask that is you hear a lot of so-called business gurus that say, you should niche down, you should be hyper niche and focused, and then expand out after you're systematized and processed. Then maybe you add a service and expand from there.
Other
But
way around.
in my experience in the real world, typically, you're starting broader, and then you kind of figure out what your niche should look like. Because if you're
Yep.
going into a blind, especially if you never had a business before, you don't know what your niche should be. You don't know what you don't know. And so I think more often than not, it's starting kind of broad. You can get a little bit more volume. You can learn what you like, learn what works, niche down, get that systematized, and then if you want to expand back out, you can start kind of branching out from there. Just curious your thoughts on that, but I think you're kind of on par with most people that end up niching down is starting out a little bit broader.
Yeah, you nailed it. Absolutely.
Yeah, and
Um,
that's one thing I say to people, like especially if they want to niche down or if they should just start with remodeling or transition to full remodeling, if that should be their focus. That's a common question that we get because a lot of handyman guys, Coby knows the first temptation is, oh, I should do remodels. I'm getting asked about bathrooms and kitchens, and I could probably make a lot of money and get 2 weeks on the calendar booked. So one thing that's really important is that being a handyman, you're maximizing the volume of leads, and I like to say maximizing relationships, because as you experienced, Jay, over 4 years, you had hundreds of relationships, contacts, people that know you, like you, trust you, refer you, they call you. And that's a huge asset to build that
Yeah.
up. And so I love how Coby said too, in real life, starting broader and narrowing down is realistic. It doesn't make the nicest, YouTube headline, I guess, to grab someone's attention for business, like, oh, just start a door business and make 20,000 a month or whatever it may be. It's like, you got to build up that rapport in your community, and anyone that's handy, a handyman's a great way to maximize relationships. And I had this personal experience myself in websites and marketing. When I first left my job, you got to pay the bills. And so if someone wanted some online marketing or websites, no matter what niche, I helped them. But it taught me the value of focus. And so I would agree too with you guys that that starting broad, maximizing relationships, leads, building that reputation is a nice foundation to then start to narrow down that service offering. So great comments there, guys. One thing I had to note, I can't leave this out, Jay, is applied faith. I love that, man. One of my takeaways, I forget who I got it from or what book, but in your prayer, in your meditation, your thoughts, like to actually like state, like, I believe that this is possible. I believe that we're going to make this happen. I think there's a lot of power in applied faith. I haven't heard it expressed like that. So I wrote that down, man. And it's right next to down to 62 cents and
Yeah.
applied faith. And here you are 6 months ago, your wife left her job and is working in the office. And so I just love that, man. I love it so much. So let's get into the nuts and bolts here. So we kind of naturally, we're talking a little bit about marketing. So what does your marketing look like for residential door focus? Obviously, you've been working together for a number of years, but what are you doing for marketing? Where are most of these like niche door leads coming from?
I got it. I got that metric. We track where our leads come from. Yeah. So otherwise, I got my website with you. So a really good website is huge. It needs to work fast when you're scrolling up and down. Like, even if you're clumsy about it, you get to the website and you go scroll to the bottom, and you go scroll up, and you don't plan on being there very long. If that thing glitches, you're more likely to want to leave that website, right? But so that's what I'm saying is, like, the website you got me from day one all the way through, there's no glitch. It's fast. So where do I get my leads? What's my marketing? That website is huge. It gives people a go to build trust. I know I do. If I hear about a company, I search for them on Google. They got a Google page. They got a website. They don't have to have it's your Google page, and your website is more important than your Facebook. If all you have is Facebook, that's neat. When I go to build up my list of contractors that I recommend, if they don't have a Google page and a website, it's kind of a turnoff for me. I'm less likely to want to put them on my list to recommend, because not everybody has Facebook, especially the baby boomers. I mean, they do. Don't get me wrong. Everybody does now, but sometimes they don't use that as a tool like they do Yellow. Someone told me they found me in the Yellow Pages, but they meant Google. this older gentleman, he's like, "Yeah, I found you in the Yellow Pages," and I was like, "No," but I didn't say anything. He meant Google.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like you got to have your Google page and your website, then your social media, and with that, get really good. My opinion is to get really good at one or two social medias before you expand having all of them. Like I put all my heart and soul into my Facebook. I opened up an Instagram, like, I don't want to. I know you can set it up where they cross post the same thing. I'm not there yet to where I've done that, but I just get really good at one social media, and I don't get a lot of leads directly from Facebook, but they verify. That's kind of what I'm getting at, is you got to build trust through several points of verification. They find you on Facebook, they click on your website link, and then they go to Google. Oh, he's on Google, and then the reviews. So we get most of our leads from Google, and then referrals, and then it falls off pretty quickly to low percentages of other things after that.
I,
Um, yeah.
I liked the way you said the verbiage you used. You said you put all your heart and soul into Facebook,
Yep.
because Facebook is the place to kind of you can really express the heart and soul of the business and some personality on there, and express that you're a local community based business, and like I said, just kind of express some of that personality stuff that's a little bit more. Um, Casual, where people can feel like they get to know the business a little better as they're doing some of those, as you said, like verification of the business. They might find you on Google. You're checking out your reviews, checking out your website, and if especially people are going to be doing a bigger project, they're going to be spending more money. They're going to be looking at you kind of all over the place, doing their due diligence. And Facebook's a great place to, as you said, kind of put your heart and soul of the business.
Yeah. With that, people want to see your face.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Uh, so that'll be tell your story, show your face, don't hide behind your logo. I've heard someone say that, and I was like, oh yeah, well I kind of know that it's a no brainer, but for some people it's not a no brainer, and so sometimes it's good to hear that. Don't hide behind your logo, and
Yeah.
if it's not you, because some people open a business and they never operate in the business as the craftsmen. They hire craftsmen from the get-go, and so they're never actually doing the work. They're running the business, hiring employees. So if you don't want to be on camera as the owner, the spokesman, or whatever, get your employees to be on camera. So that's huge. Like that's also something I do as a consumer or looking at other contractors. I'll go to a Facebook page. Oh, this is cool, a nice business. And one of the first things I subconsciously do without realizing it is I scroll down to a post, and I scroll until I see a person's face.
Mm.
Like, and so if I do that subconsciously, everybody does that. And sometimes there's these businesses with no faces at all. I tend to leave or not remember them as much. But the businesses where you go to, and they're doing employee spotlights, pictures of their guys or crew, men and women working. That's huge. That's what people want to see.
Mm.
So to be a human and passionate and tell your story is huge.
Yeah, that's really good stuff, man. And authenticity is huge for SEO, for ranking and recommended AI. Like it's something that whenever I do trainings or anything, I have a whole slide on authenticity and a bunch of photos of clients on their website and in front of their work vehicle on the job. Um, Algorithms, people like they want to see the real people behind the business. It has this authenticity, this verification to them. So anyone listening, that's some great wisdom from Jay. Do have like at least a nice headshot, nice family photo, whatever on your website, on your Google profile, on your Facebook. When you make posts, be using like real job photos or photos of yourself. And you don't have to look further than Jay's Door and Trim. Check them out on Facebook. I have never seen a a business page with so much engagement. I'm not even, that is no exaggeration. I've never seen a handyman trade focused like Facebook page. Like he's got posts that have like regularly getting 10, 20, 50 plus likes, lots of comments. And so Jay does an amazing job being authentic and vulnerable on Facebook as well. I love how much you share your heart. And I'd recommend just adding Jay Bergfeld on Facebook. He makes a lot of content about his personal journey and business. And that translates, that
Thank you.
totally flows through to your business, Jay, and it has real benefits as well.
Thank you.
So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
So don't hide behind your logo.
I just wanted to jump in. That phrase alone, I love. Don't hide behind your logo. People, a great logo is important and it's awesome, and you want to have a logo you're proud of. Um, but you're not Nike or Under Armour. Like people
Right.
talk about, like building their brand and branding, and yeah, it's important. But you're not going to just put your logo up all over the place, and people are going to automatically associate it like they do with Nike or Gucci or whatever. And the example that comes to mind is I think of like the biggest home builder in the country. I think it's like, DR Horton. I think they're one of the biggest home builders in the country. I don't know what their logo looks like. I don't know what the quality of their work is like either. But one of the biggest builders, if not the biggest builder and home builders in the country, and I've got no clue what their logo looks like. If I saw it, I wouldn't recognize it. So building that personality and having those personal photos is hugely important. Probably more so. I'm going to say definitely more so than how great your logo looks. That's not to say it's not important, and having a great logo is awesome, but definitely can't hide behind it because you're not Nike.
But with that, and great example of Nike is I listened to a fella named Roy Williams. He's one of the most famous ad writers in the country and the world. His podcast show, Todd Lyles and Roy Williams of Wizard of Ads. Nike. So how did Nike, like, your example of Nike? Don't hide behind your logo. We're not Nike. We're people. We're a people home service business. But you know what's funny is Nike. How did they get so big? People. The image of people, Michael Jordan, all these athletes, and beyond athletes, they started using not professional athletes, just regular people and stuff. Like you go back to some of their famous ads, it was people running. It was, you know what I mean, and then the logo.
I know exactly the ad that there's a campaign I remember specifically, like probably like 5 to 10 years ago, of just regular runners out in the country. And making regular that connection. People. Yeah. So we need to connect with people though. And you can't do it without showcasing typically your image, because most are starting as owner operator rather than, hiring and having trucks. Like J.R. Crow, we interviewed him on our podcast and he started as a businessman, certainly experiencing the trades, but it still requires that aggressive personality, not aggressive, that's the wrong word there, but being very open to showing the people behind the business. And so Jay, kind of circling back here, how you engage on Facebook and what you share, I think is that's like the extra credit version. I just love your content, your vulnerability, but how you tie everything back to your business is really well done. So one question I have as far as like marketing and the niche is that obviously, like, you're in Castle Rock, Washington. It's not like a sprawling metro area, and you only do doors. Like, did that force you to broaden your service area? Like, what did that look like as far as like the population goes? Do you have to drive further? Are you just better at kind of finding other opportunities on the job site related to doors, carpentry, trim work, et cetera? Like, how does that work in your more relatively rural areas compared to, say, like Seattle up north? Did that change anything when you niche down?
Yeah. So Handyman, at that 4-year mark of doing Jay's Handyman service, I was getting 1,500 leads a year, 10 leads a day, every day, five leads, 10 leads, it was overwhelming. So that was another reason I decided to niche down. So on topic of, did I have to go to different cities, expand because I'm doing one niche, would be that as a general handyman, eventually I got so busy in my area. And again, probably because Facebook to Google, and then they called me from Google. But what I'm saying is, like, I was getting 1,500 leads a year by myself with no marketing spend, just your website, Google page, and Facebook. And it became extremely overwhelming, to the point that I'd call 20 people. I would pick a day to call 20 people back. Hey, sorry, it's been a month. And they're like, some people would get mad. Like, that was 4 weeks ago. And I'm like, I know, I would like interrupt him. Like, I would start, my opening sentence would be like, hey, I'm just calling to apologize. That's it. Like, so I was like, oh my gosh, like, too many leads. So I wanted to scale the business with hiring employees. And I did. I hired an employee, and I was doing finished carpentry work. But when I hired them, they were assuming we were going to do a broad spectrum of all types of work, in which we were. But we were doing high-end finished work, and they didn't have that skill set. So I was willing to teach them. But what I learned, when you hire employees, really quick version of my employee experience leading into what your question was that it's extremely important to, it is most important for your employees to feel like they are really good at their job. As soon as your employees are doing a task and they don't feel good about it, they go home to their families. Like that affects them the rest of their evening. Like, I'm doing this task and I don't feel like I'm doing a good job at it. And then so day in and day out, if they're they can't wait till that job's over because they're not fast at it. They're not efficient at it and they want to do a good job at it. So I wanted to grow my business doing all types of services. But that's when I realized my employee, he was getting stressed out and he told me, he's like, hey, like, I feel so bad. I'm not fast at this, like super slow at it. Right. And I'm teaching him. And then I would be working side by him and I would do the majority of the house base trim by the time he's done with a little room. And he would, and then it's like, I'm like, I don't care. Like, you're learning. That's part of the process. But I was paying them a higher wage for that skill set. So to scale a business doing handyman is not easy. And again, my hat's off. So my recommendation to anybody doing handyman or general contracting business is know who your people are and what their skill sets are and put them in those positions and understand that that's the one phrase. It is very important for your employees to feel like they are good at their job. And when they're not, things can be compromised in several different ways. But when I specialized to doors and trim, I was like, I'm going to be able to hire an employee and they're going to feel like they're good at their job. Even if they're brand new and they've never used a screw gun and they're learning how to use a screw gun, they know that, hey, I'm starting out, I'm brand new, but this is the only thing I need to learn. The only thing I need to get good at is installing this door perfectly. And that's it. We're not going to be building decks. We're not going to be climbing on roofs, doing moss treatment, gutter cleaning. You know what I mean? Variety is good. People do like variety, but at the same time, they want to feel like they're experts at their job. So I was like, if I specialize my employees as I scale, that's all they have to be good at. So with the lead flow as a handyman was substantial. I went from all those leads to crickets. And it was scary, but I kept going and I knew it was going to work out. It was slow at first. Yeah, I did think I was going to have to expand, like you asked. So your original question, in a small town, Castle Rock, 3,000 people, the towns around me, you know, they get greater as you go. My average, I know so many metrics, it's not even funny, but my average job is like 20 to 30 miles away, no matter where I'm going. Never am I an hour away. Sometimes I have. And that's why when you said that, I grabbed this sheet. I've printed off. It's called the customer demographics for the business. And right at the top is Longview, Washington. Second to that is Castle Rock, Washington. And there's like 16 to 20 cities on here. After that third little city, my niche little area, it just falls off to percentage of where I work. At first, I thought I was going to have to go everywhere. And so I did. I went all the way up to Olympia, all the way to Vancouver, which is a very large travel radius. My profits were not good during those times. And I was like, through 8 years of data, I mostly work in Longview and Castle Rock. So what if I put all my marketing efforts, yard signs and such, and try to only work in these little cities? So narrowing within a niche, narrowing your service area can be. I know some guys on the Handyman Journey group, they specialize in only serving a small area. And if they're outside of the area, they say no, which gives them more availability for the jobs that are closed. So when you say no to a job, you're saying yes to other jobs that you want to most do. And you might need some work and you get a call for a job outside of your area. And if you say no to that, 5 minutes later, you might get another call and you'll be able to say, yes, it's in your area. So that's like, don't ever fear saying no so you can stay within your wheelhouse is huge. But it took a few years to where I don't have to worry about driving to Olympia anymore. I got enough leads in Longview, Castle Rock area.
I know you're talking about service area, but I want to highlight a pretty awesome piece of wisdom you shared when you were talking about your employees, or hiring, bringing on, training employees, in that one of the main benefits of niching down, picking a niche that you want to work in, and having that clear focus, it makes it so much easier to hire and train employees when there's that clear focus. Because if you're training, this is just one of the, it's just kind of the nature of the beast when it comes to remodeling, general contracting, handyman, whatever it is, trying to bring on employees. You have to train them how to do flooring and trim and doors and drywall and painting and gutter cleaning and all the different things. And people that already know how to do all of those things and do them well, they're tough to find. They're out there. They're tough to find. And so you're kind of in the recruiting and training business, but that business becomes a lot easier when you just have to teach them how to do baseboard and door casing and hanging pre-hung doors and having that clear focus. And I think that's super, super important for people to consider, because one of the big, for those guys that want to scale and they want to hire employees, especially in the handyman space, more often than not, your biggest bottleneck is, or your biggest, the reason why it's tough to scale in this industry is you have to know where to find people, and you have to know how to train them. That's one of the biggest bottlenecks,
Training.
is not having enough employees that are well trained in all the stuff that you do. It just becomes a lot easier when you niche down.
Yeah.
Brian Gottlieb wrote a book called Beyond the Hammer. And in that book, he said, treat your business like a training organization. Like literally think of it like that. Like, what are you? You're a business that provides services so you can generate revenue and create jobs and stuff. But beyond that, act like, oh, this is a training center. So, you know what I mean? Like what you just said, basically. You have to be able to, training is huge. To be able to bring people in, train. Yeah. But with the handyman stuff, it's like, that's, as long as you're aware of that, the handyman business can be wildly successful. Yeah. If you're not in tune with that concept, this topic that we're talking about, and you just kind of, I don't know, flying by the seat of your pants and hiring people, it can be tough. But as soon as you're aware of it, you can systematize accordingly and appropriately. You got, hey, this guy's really, that it comes down to knowing your employees, and not just their skills, but who they are as a person too, because you don't want any employees to be frustrated on a job. They might be really good at drywall. Like I'm really good at drywall patching. I'm phenomenal at it, but I don't like people to know that, because I don't want to do it. So if you have an employee like that, like, hey, Tony will do it. You know, he's phenomenal at that. But if he doesn't like it, he's going to eventually leave, because he wants to do the other things that he does like to do. And yeah. So if you're aware of that and you train accordingly to their skill sets and what they like to do, and you try to, if you got enough work and you got your 5 employees and you're able to keep them in their wheelhouse, they're going to like that a lot. Yeah. And you'll be successful.
Yeah. And that's not to say, you can't be hyper successful as a handyman, like you said, or that it's impossible to find people or train people. JR, Steady Home Maintenance, perfect example of somebody who's got a great process around hiring and training employees in the handyman space. It's just important to realize that chances are that's going to be a pretty big bottleneck in the business. That's going to require, a lot of your, focus to make sure that you have systems and a process in place to bring on and train, great employees. And it can be easier in a niche.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, good stuff, guys. So we got like 15 minutes here, Jay, and I know you had something not go as planned today, as far as like a door possibly showing up to your house around this time. And so I did want to ask you, things not going as planned, life does not go as planned. And I've certainly experienced that in my life. And then as business owners, it naturally comes into the business, right? I mean, especially, working with your wife in the business. So I'd love to hear some highlights of like when business didn't go as planned, man, what are some of the top like biggest, man, that did not go as planned things that come to mind over your last 8 years?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it happens all the time, and it's just part of the name of the game. It's not how you react, it's how you act. So keeping your cool, understanding that problems do happen, and then like kind of you understand that nothing goes as planned, and that's okay. And being able to adapt uh, is very important. Um, Lots of stories, whether it's home life can get uh, disrupt business, or business can disrupt itself through problems within the business, like deliveries, or a door comes in damaged. Um, as an owner, if your family's health has an issue, that can be very difficult, and then totally change your plans. Um, there's never a convenient time to do hard things. So knowing those two things is nothing goes as planned, and there will never be a convenient time to do hard things. And as soon as things are going super smooth, um, just be ready to adapt and keep your cool. As a business owner, you don't get to be angry and stuff. As soon as you show your angry face and frustration, and if you're kind of, I know some people, they're a little bit of a hothead in construction, and that might work out on the job, but never as a boss. I got some advice from, I went to the Home Service Freedom event 2024, and I'm sitting there at a lunch table chatting with other business owners. And I didn't realize I was sitting next to one of the largest home service businesses in the country, um, like CEO, not CEO, but manager, chief of operations. If something like that. But I was like,
Big
oh,
dog.
so cool. And I asked him. Well, someone said, "Hey, if you we're getting up, lunch was done," and he's like, "If you had one piece of advice, what would it be?" And he said, he kind of thought for a second. He's like, "You don't get to have bad days. Always be in a good mood. Don't ever let your employees see you in a bad mood. If you got to go out to your car, do some deep breathing, come back in. You always got to be level headed and positivity and smile." So that is huge to what your question is there. It kind of went off a little bit.
You're
Rephrase
good,
your
man.
question again. Oh yeah, just nothing goes as planned. So yeah, something doesn't go as planned. You feel angry. I also read in a book to, if you're angry, allow 5 minutes to be angry and then let it go. It doesn't matter what it is. So take in that anger, like, okay, I'm angry. Go to your space and be angry. After 5 minutes, like, okay, what can I change? What can't I change? Let it
Mm.
go. Move on and do the things you can, and stay positive as much as possible always. But so those are like my takeaways beyond any type of one story. But
That's good
that's,
stuff, man.
yeah. So beyond any story, that's kind of, you got to be okay with things not going as planned. And the biggest risk a business takes is to never take a risk at all. So if you expect to start a business and there not be fires or bad situations, um, you're lying to yourself, or just, it is not comfortable to own a business. It's not easy or comfortable, but it's extremely rewarding, and I wouldn't have it any other way. I love doing what I do. I love dealing with the problems. Problems happen all the time, and it's how you act, not how you react.
Yeah. I love that, Jay. Thanks for sharing that, man. It's any like newer business out there is it's good stuff. Any season is like, oh yeah, like that's so important. One of those, I've been in business for about 10 years now, and I would say a common denominator of any successful business owner, and by successful, I mean they're happy in what they're doing, whether they're owner operator, staying booked out, profitable, taking care of the family, or have lots of employees. multi-million-dollar businesses, a common denominator amongst all of them is that they are level-headed and even-keeled. They don't take the roller coaster of life into their team, into their business, because we certainly have things that don't go as planned. Like I'm sure down to 62 cents in the bank account, when that lead calls, you really want that job, right? But you just have to treat them the exact same way that you would treat them with, 62 grand in the bank account or whatever that looks like. So I absolutely love that. Just control, like being mindful of that control, because we're going to have all kinds of stuff that happens that it's going to weigh us down. And it takes a lot of internal work to kind of show up and play ball and not let that trickle out to your customers. They'll feel that. Your team members will feel that. So great wisdom there, Jay.
Your family will feel that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how I didn't mention that one. Absolutely, that's the ground
Yeah.
floor.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean don't hide it. So don't put on too strong of a game face. If you had a bad day at work, you know what I mean? Don't bottle things up. So
Definitely. Yeah, there's an appropriate way to share that with. I don't think with your clients necessarily. You wouldn't tell them about a big life event that you'd be going through in most cases, unless it changes the schedule, maybe. But absolutely with your team. I know, we try to do that at Handyman Marketing Pros, all be on the same page as a family and know what's going on, but still, be there to support each other and get the stuff done that needs to be done.
yeah.
Kobe's like, yeah, I doubt it, bro.
I got one more question. For an interior pre-hung door, what's your nail gun gauge of choice? You running like
Oh,
a 15 gauge, 18 gauge?
it would be 16 gauge. 15 gauge is it's once 16 gauge came out, because see, I've been a carpenter since I was 7. Literally, I'm talking using power tools, nail guns, all of it. Building boxes. Grew up in a cabinet shop, and my dad teaching me all that stuff. But there wasn't a 16 gauge; it was 15 gauge. You know what I mean? Then all of a sudden, 16 gauge came out, and they're so close. It's like I I use the 16 gauge. It's slightly smaller than the 15 interior, um, and it's plenty. Um, and exterior doors, I use screws. I do use nails on occasion here and there on the jamb, the install of the jamb. Sometimes I like to do that to hold the shims in place, kind of. But for the most part, I try to just use screws behind the weather stripping. But yeah, that's a interesting thing. What size nail or gauge to use?
Everybody's a little different. Everybody's a little different. I will tell you, I had an employee, newer employee, showed him how to put a door in. So we went to go put the next one in. And these were, hollow core, cheaper doors, and they were light. He used a 23 gauge pin nailer to install this interior door, so he wouldn't have to fill the nail
Right.
holes. And he's like, well, the casing will hold it on just fine. He's like, I used an 18 gauge for that. And I was like, so you got to fill those nail holes too. Like, that's funny, but just curious.
Oh, yeah.
What's
Yeah.
up?
18 gauge. Yeah. Even 18 gauge would be too small for the jam. Doable, yeah, I guess, but not for, you want that thing to last 30 years more or longer. And so, yeah, 18 gauge for the trim would be good. I use 23 gauge as needed, as like a little help, but nothing like full on. And then, yeah.
Now,
Well, you guys heard it from the expert here. I love that question, Kobe, because Jay instantly just lit up like, oh, here we go. We're talking about what gauge I would use for my door installs.
yeah.
Like, just the passion that kind of came out of that was awesome to see.
Now,
And
I was just gonna say I lied. I said I had one more question, but I got one more question I was gonna ask earlier. I know we're running a little short on time, but your niche, doors and finished carpentry trim, it's a specific niche. There's not a ton of guys that do really good finished carpentry. And so your business, my first impression was, oh, I bet you Jay gets a lot of work from from contractors and home builders doing their finish work. Do you get work like as a subcontractor from remodelers, contractors, builders?
No, actually, no.
Is that something that you've like considered exploring as an option for leads for more work, or is it like nope, I'd rather work for the homeowners?
Mostly I'm organically not getting contractors calling me to do the door package for them. I have a contractor that I've done that for, and I like working for him because I also get to work directly with the homeowners. But that's my main thing within niche and niching down. The more, like I said, all your eggs in one basket, the more niche you can get, the more specialized you can get. I've been saying lately to myself that I specialize in working with homeowners. Beyond the door install, that's exact. Like if I scale my business, I need employees that are appropriate in the home with the customers. And just finding people that have that personable skills to be in the home and respect someone's home and listening to their stories, their house, their rules. That's what I really specialize in. So after 4 years as a handyman, I got really comfortable and good at that and realized that that's what I really like is working for homeowners. So no, I don't get very many or at all leads from contractors, and I do get some new construction people calling every so often, but we don't do any new construction, no commercial, and remodels. As long as I get to work with the homeowner also, or that contractor is really personable.
That's good stuff.
Yeah.
That's good stuff, and that's an important distinction of, if you're going to niche down or just in general, as a business owner in the home services, you have to get pretty specific on what it is that you do, and what type of work you're going to say no to, but also who you do it for. Am I going to do any subcontract, or am I going to work for builders? Is it just homeowners? Is it property managers? So getting specific on who you do your work for is just as important as what you do.
It is. And also doing a customer analysis.
So quick customer analysis, like
Yeah.
you mentioned, like what does that look like? What's the application there?
And it works for any home service or home improvement business. But you want to find your avatar, your ideal customer, your dream 100 customer, and who they are as a person, down to where do they work, what kind of, like I've learned, oddly enough, I have learned the type of people that hire me, whether it's when I'm in their home, and the energy, my personality, and maybe the engineer doesn't necessarily hire me, but the different type of personality hires me. So that comes with sales. You can have different salesmen going to the same customer's house, and for whatever reason, two of those people are gonna click, and nobody else will. But like most of my customers read books. They like, oddly enough, because I started tracking it. What are similarities between my customers? And I noticed, you know what? When I'm doing the work, a lot of them are over there in their living room reading a book. They're retired, reading a book. I'm like, that's so neat. So my customers like to read, which is a good point with my Facebook, because then it's a trickle effect. How does that represent, and what can I use? How can I use that information to improve my business? Well, I know for a fact my customers like to read. So when I type a really long story on my Facebook page, those customers read it. And then it builds rapport and relationship and trust. And then they want to hire me to do the work.
And they want to refer you too, because they're rooting for you.
Yeah. They're rooting for you. They already like to read. So they're gonna read that. And the people that I don't got time for that, that's fine. I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
Because I know most of my customers read, oddly enough.
I'll say
I was installing problems and nothing goes as planned. I was installing a sliding glass door for a customer. No, not installing it. I was repairing it. I had it on its side, and I'm replacing the wheels without great detail. I'm kind of working on there, and I'm getting that wheel out, and I got this chisel because there's this little plastic debris tab inside of there, and I'm trying to move it. Pow! The glass shatters. Right. Well, the gentleman I was working for was literally 3 feet from me on his recliner reading a book. And like I was like, oh my goodness. He's like, but yeah, they read books, customer analysis. So just start noting everything you know about your customer, everything.
I chuckled a little bit. I know you were just throwing out a random example, but you said maybe engineers aren't my ideal client, and I chuckled because anybody who's in the home services who's worked in the home of an engineer, God bless engineers, but man, can it be quite the experience. We worked for an engineer, and we redid the bathroom, and we replaced all the drywall in there. And when the drywall was done, he got out a bevel gauge and an angle finder, and he put it in one of the inside corners. And he's like, this is 2 degrees out of square, Coby.
Which is not needed. Yeah.
And I'm like,
Overkill, yeah.
man, I don't know what to tell you. It is 2 degrees out of square. It's drywall.
Yeah.
Just made me chuckle.
Yep.
Great
So
example.
but
Sorry. Go ahead, Jay.
Oh no, go ahead. Yeah.
I was just going to recap, man. I just love like how much you know your customers and are committed to the homeowner. I do think there's opportunity for more strategic relationships with builders and other contractors as like a really strong referral, or if they want to pay a premium rate to get something done really well with the door and trim on the project. But like what you said about, I love listening and helping people and like connecting with them. And then I just so happen to be really good at doors and carpentry. That resonates with me as someone who, I'll share with, people close of like, I just love to help people and connect with them. And I just happen to be, really learn and train in SEO for, the trade businesses. And so being committed to who your heart is out there to serve. For us, it's small family owned handyman businesses and trade businesses like you and Lisa. And I just love that commitment and your heart there I just love to help people and listen to them and talk to them. And I do that through amazing carpentry work. So that connected with me. And I think that that's a good trait for any successful business owner is they want to help people. And they've got their trade of how they can kind of do that, but also be there in a bigger way. And that's a blessing that small business owners have is they can make that human connection with these folks.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a saying, a man without a smile should not open a shop. So, you know what I mean? So if you don't have a personality if you don't have a pleasing personality and you don't want to hear someone's story, then it might not be the best business to be in as far as home service or home improvement, because you got to be willing to listen to people's stories. And sometimes they can, if that was a piece of advice, I'd say absolutely would be just be a good listener to people's stories and allow your employees to listen to their stories, allow for enough time to hear people's stories and let them tell you all about their stuff and things.
Yeah. I'll dig deep in the archives here of something that comes to mind. I've got one kind of parting question for you, Jay, but it was years ago and it was a Friday, like at 4:30, something like I was about done with work for the day. This was in the business and it was a sales call, and it was a pressure washing guy who was homeless, living in his truck. I think he'd had a few beverages, and at first I had this thought of like, oh my gosh, like this guy starts telling me his whole life story and, obviously in a tough spot. And I had this initial reaction of negativity of like, oh my gosh, like it's Friday. I got to hear this guy's story. This guy's a character in a really tough spot in life. And like, it just kind of like, I had this moment on that call of course it's a funny story for me to recollect, but having this moment of like, what more important work can I be doing right now than to listen to this guy? And, I've got my advice for him. He doesn't have money to hire a marketing company, but like he's homeless living in his truck and he's got pressure washing gear. So, what's more important than me to listen and then pour into this guy? And it kind of zoomed me out to the real root of like what I think makes small business owners like powerful and can be successful is I just wanted to be there in that moment with that guy and help him and give him some guidance. I never heard from him again, so I hope he's well out there. But it was a wake up call moment for me of like, like this is what business is. Sometimes you go into a house and you don't know what someone's going to unload about their life on you.
Yeah.
And what a special opportunity we have to meet somebody in a hard spot or to listen to them and share our smile, like you said.
Yep.
I gotta double down on that, Jason. I've been very thankful the way that you run Handyman Marketing Pros, being able to the amount of people that I talk to on our strategy sessions, about websites and marketing and all the stuff that we do. But having that liberty when there's people that just they're not a good fit or they're not ready for us to hire us. But being able to spend the time with them to pour into them and give them any sort of help or guidance that I'm able to without having to feel like I got to sign them up as a client or I'm going to get in trouble
Sure.
or I got to make more sales or anything like that. And so you do that in the business and give me the freedom to just have genuine, honest conversations with people and help any way we can. And a lot of times that means hiring us, for our services that we offer. And sometimes it just means having a conversation with people. And it really goes, a long way for both people involved, I think.
Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that, man. And I know there's opportunities like that in the house every day for all of our listeners out there. Thanks, Coby. Means a lot, man. And great inspiration there, Jay. You obviously inspired us with your heart and what's on your mind here on the subject. So last question for you. I know we're running over already. Is like, what parting advice for, I would say, let's focus on if someone has really been thinking about niching down or at least putting a bigger priority on something. Because I tell people too, is like, you don't need to go like full blown all at once. You can just start to build up a niche, right? What kind of advice would you have for somebody, like some action that you would recommend them take to start focusing or building up a niche within their handyman business?
Towards the beginning of the show, Coby said it really well. As far as some business gurus say to start out specialized, but it's the other way around. It's do a lot of services, build trust with the community, and figure out what's gonna, so that is huge, I think. Start out doing several things, so that therefore naming your business is important. Like, and it's okay to rename, to rebrand, but consider that it is okay to rename and rebrand, especially if you've built up customers. But you can do it either way. But I think starting out offering several different things is good. And then, especially if you're unsure of what you want to do, you're really good, like the drywall and all the things in the painting, and you kind of enjoy all of it and you enjoy the variety. I think eventually narrowing down your niche, even if you are doing all things, because even like the uber successful handyman businesses, they eventually narrow down too. They get really good at saying no at something.
Yep. Jay, thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us, man. If any of our listeners would like to connect with Jay, look him up on Facebook, Jay's Door and Trim, Jay Bergfeld. Friend him on Facebook, super nice guy. The algorithm knows that I read your stuff, Jay, because it shows me a lot of your posts. And so I just love your insight and your heart that you reflect about your business. I think it's really helpful, and I've certainly gotten value from that. So yeah, man, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for having me. This is really cool. Way cool. I appreciate it. And,
Thanks, Jay.
Great talking with Coby. Yeah.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of the Home Hero Podcast, brought to you by Handyman Marketing Pros.